everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this knotted bracelet here, and I'm using gemstone beads. I'm using a CZ bead and I am using a moonstone bead. I thought this would be a really nice simple project to use some of your gemstones because gemstones showcase themselves, so I like to keep something pretty simple when I use my gemstones because I want to see them and not a bunch of fanciness. So I thought this would be really nice with some gemstones. Now, the same process for this bracelet, you can see how it looks. You're going to do the exact same thing and you can make a necklace. So with this one, I used more moonstone and CZ beads. And these, like I said, they're just called cubic zirconia beads. I don't think I paid that much for them, but I bought them at a gem show and they always have things marked up a lot higher than they really are. But I bought a few strands of them and I think they're so pretty and I've had them for a while, so I wanted to showcase them. This is a really nice strand of the heishi, however you say it, beads shape and or disc shape of moonstone. So I put the moonstone and the CZ together exactly the same way I put this together, except for instead of putting just a short extender and lobster claw, I put on a long chain to make it 18 inches long for a necklace, and then I put on my clasping. And this lays really nice on the neck. It worked out really well. So you can make this bracelet and make a matching necklace all together at once watching this tutorial. So let's go ahead and see what it takes to make this project, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, for this project today, I wanted to try to make something very simple with some gemstones just to showcase them mostly. So I've made a necklace. I'm just doing a simple knotted type necklace, and I think I can go ahead and make a bracelet exactly the same way, and then we can just add chain on the back for a necklace if you want to make a necklace, or you can make the bracelet just like I'm going to show you. It'll work either way. I have got some moonstone here, and this is like AA quality. It has a pretty good flash, but it's not quite as pretty as this one that I used here, which are like heishi shape. But I'm going to use the 6mm round of my moonstone, and then I have these little cubic zirconia beads that I bought at a gem show, and I wanted to use them, and so I am going to go ahead and use some of these because I used them on the necklace. I'm going to try them with the 6mm round moonstone, and then I have a couple of clamshell tips. And then I have a lobster claw clasp. I have two 4mm round. These are the synthetic hematite glass beads, and they're 4mm round. They're in silver color. And I have some 11-0 Tohos, which is the galvanized permanent finish aluminum. And then I have some size 1 crimp beads, and I'm going to be using those. They're beadalon. And you'll need 2 of those. And then I'll probably put an extender on the back of this, so I've got a little piece of chain that I can cut to make an extender on the back of the bracelet. So you can do this with any beads you want. Here's another one I made a little bit different than I'm going to show you how, but this is with 4mm round glass pearls, and this is like a 4x6 rice shaped bead that was in one of our last treasure bags. So you can do this with whatever you would like. You don't have to have the gemstones, of course. You can use different sizes, whatever you want. The technique will be the same. So once you have all those, we're going to be using some soft flex fine beading wire. That way I can slide it up through my beads. I can double it through the end of the beads, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm using the fine diameter here. and you can use whatever beading wire you want. This one is 0.014 inch or 0.36 millimeter in diameter, so that you can get something similar if you don't have soft flex fine. And let's go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, to start, I have cut about 10 and a half, 11 inches, something like that, of beading wire. And this is my soft flex fine. Just make sure that you cut enough appropriate for the length you want to make. My bracelet is going to end up to be about a 7-inch bracelet. So if you want to make a little bit longer bracelet, you can just put a longer extender on the back and do exactly what I'm doing with the same length, same numbers, so on and so forth. Or you can cut a little bit more wire and make your beaded section a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a clip on one end of this wire that I have cut, and I'm going to start stringing on my 6 millimeter beads. Now I know how many I used for my 4 millimeter, but I'm not really sure how many I'm going to need for my 6 millimeter beads. So I am going to put about 35 on here and measure it, and I'll show you how I am going to measure it and what you'll need for your measurement, and I will be back. So I'm just going to continue stringing my 6 millimeter round beads onto this piece of wire. Okay, so I have put 28 beads onto my piece of wire. Now these beads are closer to 7 millimeter than 6 millimeter, so they're a little bit bigger than I made a portion here. If these are 6 millimeter, they're smaller. So I have measured it. I put 28, and then I've measured it to be about 3.5 inches long, because this is going to be closer to a 7.5 inch bracelet. And then of course I can adjust it with a little bit of an extender if it comes out a little shorter than I want it to, but I'm going to shoot for about 7.5 inches. So I've made this 3.5, and then the other side will be about 3.5, 4 inches long. So that should be about right. So this is how I'm doing this. I'm folding it in half, and I'm measuring it about half the length of the bracelet I want. And then it's going to take up some room on my wrist, of course, and then when I wrap the other side through, it's going to lose a little length too. So that's why I'm going closer to 7.5, 7.75 inches, I hope. Now that I have my 28 beads on here, I am going to go ahead and pick up 2 11/0 seed beads on either side, just to kind of narrow this down. So I'll put 2 on both sides of the wire here. Then I'll just go ahead and center this by holding my 2 ends together, and center this nicely like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my 4 millimeter round beads here, and you can use another one of your beads that you're using on the body of the bracelet if you want, but I'm going to use one of these 4 millimeter round synthetic hematite beads. So I'm just going to put both ends into this bead. If I can get them both in there at the same time here, they should both fit. That hole is big enough, so it's just a matter of me actually getting it in there. There we go. Now I'm going to slide this down, and then I'm going to pull on both ends so that that cinches up nice and close to that bead like that. And then I'm going to pick up one of my clamshell beads. And sorry guys, my nails are yucky again. I had them done, but then it's been a couple weeks, so you know. We're going to slide through the bottom of the clamshell. So the hole that's in the bottom here, you want the opening of the clam towards the outside here, and we're going to slide this on. and just slide it down to that 4mm round bead. Then I'm going to get out a size 1. You can also use a size 2 crimp tube instead of a size 1 crimp bead. It's just that when I crimp inside a clamshell, I prefer to have the size 1, and I prefer to have it a round shape. It doesn't impede with the closing of my clamshell quite as much. So now I'm going to put both of the wires through this crimp bead here and slide it down and let it fall inside my clamshell, just like this. And then, let me readjust here, and then I'm going to grab a pair of, I've got these little skinny chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab a hold of that crimp bead. I'm going to push down on it, push everything down towards the clamshell, and then I'm going to squeeze it closed, nice and tight around the wire here. Make sure I can actually get it nice and closed. And then I'm going to test it, make sure it's closed. You can also put a drop of glue inside your clamshell when you close it so that everything stays more secure. But that feels pretty secure. And now I'm just going to grab my flush cutters and I'm going to cut just above that crimp bead and make sure that the clamshell will close around what I leave extra hanging out of the crimp tube here. And I need to sharpen my flush cutters again. Jeez. Okay, so now all I have to do is just close this clamshell. I'm going to squeeze it closed on the belly of the clamshell, and then I'm going to squeeze the two ends together like this, and this is what I have. It's like this. Now I'm going to cut another 10 inches of wire, and I'm going to string on my other beads. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my beading wire. I'm going to cut another 10, 11 inches, something like that. Probably 11 would be better, give you more room to work with. And it just depends on how much room you need personally to crimp and all that stuff. Then I am going to crimp off this end, and I am going to start stringing on these little cubic zirconia beads. Like, again, you can use whatever you would like. You could use some little bicones, you could use whatever you like. I think these are really pretty. I bought them a long time ago and I never used them, so I just decided I wanted to use these. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on, and I believe I'll need about 45, 46 of these. I'll come back and show you exactly what I'm doing. That way, if you're using something 4mm, you have a basic amount that you will be putting on there. And we're just going to set this one aside and bead this side now. And once we get enough beads on there, we will close it just like we closed this side. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I have strung this side now, and I didn't count them. What I decided to do was just lay this one on top of the one I've already made to make sure, because it's a different size bead, the count is going to be different anyway, just to make sure they are basically the same length, just like this. And then once I have done that, then I'm just going to go ahead and pick up my two 11-0 seed beads on either side of my wire here and drop them down. I'm going to put my two wires together and center this, grab my other 4mm round bead, and you don't really even have to add a 4mm round if you don't want to. You could just slide down after you put your two 11-0s. You could just slide down your clamshell too. But I kind of like the way this draws it all together and ends it. It kind of makes it look nice. So you can modify this any way you want. It'll work just fine. And then I'm just going to pull on both ends just to make sure that I draw this all up together nicely, like this. And there's not a whole lot of gap between the bead and the wire, or the bead and the seed beads. The big bead and the little beads, right there. Okay, so then I need another clamshell. And I'm going to slide it down on both wires here. and drop it down. And then I have to get out another one of my crimp beads here, and then put it on. It's a really simple, really basic design that's been around forever. I just thought I would play with it a little bit because, like I said, I wanted to use some gemstones, and I thought this would be a fun way to use them. Because I do a lot of stringing with the gemstones simply because they showcase themselves. You don't have to be real fancy with them. So now I have reached in here and squished my crimp bead. I'm going to make sure it's secure. Then I'm going to grab my flush cutters and place them inside here and cut my wires just like that. And then I'm going to close this together, trying to keep my crimp tube or my clamshell from being all weird. You know how they go sideways, they do weird things. So I like to push on the belly first, and then I kind of crimp the top of it like that, and it holds together pretty good. So now we are going to go ahead and finish the ends, and I'm not sure how I want to do this yet. Maybe I will go ahead and put let me put these together first and see how much length I've got, and then I'll know how much of an extender I'll need or not. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little one that I just made, and I'm going to put it through the bigger one. I'm going to bend it over and then go through it again like this, and just flip it over just like that. And now I have my little knot, just like this. And this is what this is going to look like. I think that's pretty. And if you wanted to make this into a necklace, then you're just going to bend it up like this, kind of position your knot so that the two sides go up. And then you're just going to attach some chain to make the length of your necklace on either side. So that's what I did with this one. So you can see. And then I ended it exactly the same way. I made it exactly the same way. I just put chain so that I have like an 18-inch necklace. Put a clamshell, or not a clamshell, but I just put a little fancy end here on it. I just took one of my 4mm round beads and put it on a head pin and put it on a closed jump ring, open the chain, put the closed jump ring on that, and then put a lobster claw on it. So, and then I just opened my chain and put it on to my clamshells. So that's how you make the necklace. Now for the bracelet, let me put this on my wrist and see if I need an extension, and I most definitely do, because these beads are bigger. They take up more room than the other beads I was using. Plus, when you put your beads around, when you tie your knot, it kind of cinches up the bracelet a little bit. So I'm going to need some chain, and I am going to cut, well, I think I'm just going to make a couple inches here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 inches. This is a Figaro chain, so I've got some of these bigger links and some smaller links, and I'm just going to open the smaller link here. And because I have these smaller links, I don't necessarily need to use a jump ring. I'm going to use these smaller links directly onto my bracelet. So I've got this smaller link I've opened. I've got my short piece of chain here, and I'm just going to put it back on the bigger link and get myself positioned here, just like this. And then I'm going to put it on the end. Let's see, what end do I want to put it on? I think I'll put it on this end. I'm just going to go into that clamshell with it, and this is a really thick chain, so it's going to take me a second to get it through. Once I've got it through, then I'll just close my jump ring, and of course you twist them open and closed. You do not pull them open and push them closed, just twist them. And now I have an extender on this end, and then I will go ahead and grab my Figaro chain here again, and I'm going to take one of the small links and use it to put on this. So I'm just going to open a small link on my chain. You can use just a regular jump ring, that's fine, but I want it to all match, and these are kind of curved, so I'm going to put this one on the end over here, and then I am going to drop on my lobster claw. I like to make sure that the link is, or the spring part is out towards the outside, which would be this way. Okay, and then this lobster claw has a big end, has a double end, so it's going to take me a second. Once I get it on here, just like this, then I'm going to try to close this. I've got my flat nose, and it might be not all that easy to do. Let's see if I can find a chain nose. Of course not. Why would I have a chain nose plier close by? Just because I need one. Here we go. And see if I can get this closed nicely. Regular jump ring would have probably worked better with this clasp, because the end of this clasp is double and it's huge, and it's taking up a lot of room on my little link here. Ouch, stabby. Okay. Now you guys can see why my hands are always beat up. All I do is beat myself up. See if I got this. Yeah, not such a beautiful closure, but it's closed. So now I can rearrange this, and let me see how long this is, and I can cut it down shorter if I want my extension to be shorter, but I think I'll just leave it, and because it'll close here. Let me back off a little bit, because it will close. I can go into any one of these links, and I'm going to go ahead and put something pretty on the end here. Let me see if I can find a head pin close by, and I will make something to put on the end. And of course I can't find one that I want, because you know that would be too easy. So here it is. Here's one. These are short, so, and bent. Oh, that one's yucky. You know, why can't one just fly in my hand that's ready to use? No, 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 that can't happen. Never happen. All right, so I'm just gonna use that one. And I'm gonna grab one of my CZs here, and I'm just going to drop it on here. And I think for this, because it's kind of a thin head pin that I grabbed, I'm just going to cut it down and then roll it back and then open my link and put it on. So what I've done is I've just bent the wire over the top of my little bead. I'm going to then cut this end down a little bit because it's just a little too long. And then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, grab on the end here, start a little curve, and then just roll it around my pliers, nice and neat, until I get a nice little coil on here, like this. And then I'm just going to open this little Figaro chain on the end here. This chain is really pretty tough. There we go. And then I'm going to slide this on and close it. Come on, you. Close properly. There we go. Now I've got a cute little end on here, and I've got a cute little bracelet. You see? I will go off camera and put this on so you can see what it looks like. on the wrist because it doesn't look all that great laying out here, but I will put it on my wrist so you can see what it looks like. And because it's a lobster claw, it'll take me a second. So I will be back in a moment and show you what this looks like on the wrist. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Now, when I was clasping, I pulled real tight on it and pulled my knot tighter together, and my length was just fine. I actually went into the very last link on my extender. Now I just have this long extender for no reason. So when you measure it, pull your knot a little tighter across, and you should be able to get out of the length that I did. I actually have about probably a 7-inch bracelet. I'm going to measure it and make sure it's 7 inches, fitting like 7 inches, with the room that the beads take up on it. Again, these are like a 7mm round bead. You can do this with any type of beads you want to do, because here's another example here, and this is with 4mm beads, and this is a 4x6 here, and you see as you pull it, you can get more length or less length just depending on how you position this. And here's my necklace, and this one stayed pretty much the same because of the shape of these beads, kind of holding these beads together. So when I made this one, I originally was going to make it as a bracelet and decided it was prettier as a necklace. So I put it together as a necklace, and then this one, this turned out really nice. Now this would be really pretty with some pearls. I was playing with some pearls. I haven't quite finished the other side of this one, but I was playing with some pearls to do this too. You can do this in all different sizes, shapes, whatever you would like to use. Let's go ahead and see exactly what this one, now that I pulled the knot a little tighter here, let's see what it measures. From this end to this end here, it's a 7.5-inch bracelet, which is perfect. So again, if you're trying to measure it on your wrist and it's not pulled tightly, then you're of course going to get a shorter measurement. So, and I'm just playing with these. I have made them, but a long time ago when I was very first learning how, I made these quite often, and they always turned out really cute. I made them with lots of different kinds of beads, and I just thought it would be fun to share with any of the beginners here or even advanced. I mean, I still enjoy doing it, and I think it's a really good way to use up your gemstones because it showcases them really nicely without getting too complicated. So anyway, this is what we've made today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.